Welcome to Current Exposure. Hello, everyone. It's a bit nippy outside, so that's why I have the fleece on. Hopefully, we have a really balanced discussion this evening. We're going to be, of course, talking about the hot topic that's circulating across the country, the United States of America versus LaMonica McIver. There was a criminal complaint filed, which was basically the outcome of chaos and drama that erupted at the ICE Detention Center, also known as Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey, on Doremus Avenue across the street from the Green Monster, which is the Essex County jail where the ICE detainees were held at one point for millions of dollars that went to the county. And we'll get into further discussion about why the county dropped it at some point, maybe in this show or another show. Who do we have here? Good evening, Will. How are you? I'm glad that you can come on and join us. Like I said, the goal is to have a well-balanced discussion about what happened. And the date was May 9th, 2025. Now, we're not going to use this platform to bash LaMonica McIver or bash ICE or bash anyone else, but you are more than welcome to put your opinions in the comments. I don't do censorship, especially if it's reasonable. If it's something weird and it makes no sense and it has nothing to do with the conversation, then I'll address it. But so far, we haven't ever had any issues. Well, no, we did have an issue with when they were like bringing illegal meat over into the United States through the Newark airport from, I believe, Africa, somewhere like that. It was exotic meat, stuff that you're not supposed to eat. That's illegal to eat in the United States. That was that one time. But other than that, like, we've never had any issue. So we're also going to have Zaire Ruffin join us, and he's going to give an analysis of the situation based on the research that he does. And if you're familiar with watching Current Exposure, you know Zaire comes with the facts. He pretty much knows the ins and outs of the law, and he's in law enforcement still. So he also predicted that P. Diddy was going to get arrested and charged, and he was absolutely right with that. He also predicted if Mayor Baraka kept going to Delaney Hall, he was going to get arrested. So he pretty much knows, and this was before the arrest even happened. You can go back to the last show and see that. That was the Thursday night before he got arrested, actually. So that had to be May 8th. Let's see what we have. Good evening, George. Welcome. No, Will, I did not see what happened at the Orange City Council meeting on Tuesday, but we can get into that too if you like. But first, I would like to start off by playing a clip that I believe is very powerful, and it speaks a lot about the background of why and how charges were brought, federal charges, felony charges were brought against Congresswoman McIver. So let me play this. And this was last night at the council meeting.
I've been a Muslim for 56 years. And Allah says to us in the Quran, he says, men are the protectors of the women. My name is Alif Muhammad Court Towers. Alif Muhammad, president and founder of Alif Muhammad Nia School. I am really emotional today. I'm angry and I'm sad. I'm angry because the mayor of this city allowed a 38-year-old woman and an 80-year-old woman in front of him when he was being arrested. That's the picture I'm sending you, that they were in front of him. They should have been protected. He should have pushed them out the way. They should have never been in this situation. It was all ego. And what I mean by ego, they say when you have an ordinance problem or something like that, and you can't resolve it, you go to court, which the city did go to court. They went to the wrong court, but they end up in federal court. And then evidently there wasn't an emergent situation because they let some specters in there and it was nothing emergent. So that's why the judge didn't rule. But the mayor was like, I'm the mayor, I'm going down there because I watched it on every day. I'm going in there, the arrogance. And what happens is you bad and tough. But when them people came at you to arrest you, it was like a deer with headlights. And then when you got arrested and came out of that place, you came out, you did a 5-hour bid. He did a 5-hour bid. And come out, I want to go see my babies. But you tough. You walk around talking that tough stuff. See, when they try you and stuff, you ain't tough. Now, why am I sad? In 2017, I met a 29-year-old girl. And how I met her was Gail Cheney decided to run for mayor, and they had a spot. And I went to Rockmont. I said, who's going to take a place? And he said, LaMonica. I said, who's that? So I called them back. I said, who's LaMonica? He said, I said, how you spell? He said, Alif, LaMonica. So I looked her resume up, and I'm like, oh, this girl's impressive. So what happened, a couple of days later, she called me and said, I need you. They say, I need you to support. And when I first met her, I asked her a question. The question I asked her, I said, you working for Montclair Human Resources, right? I said, what you making, about 140? She said, right. I said, you can't work that job and be the council person of the Central Ward because the Central Ward has so many factors, economic, poor, senior citizen. And she said, I'm going to leave that job. I said, you're going to leave a $140,000 a year job? She said, yeah, I'm going to try to get a part-time job. And what happened, I seen a 28 become a councilwoman, become a council president, and become a congressman. And when I went to HUD and the federal criminal authorities came in, the first person I ran to talk to was her. And I talked to her and I said, you gotta be I begged her. I begged you, gotta be very, very careful. Please be careful. Please don't get hung up in political loyalty. When y'all all came in, I wrote you a letter about political loyalty. And now somebody told me, they said, Alif, she wasn't ready. And I used to say, yes, she was. Maybe she wasn't. But see, everybody, Pat, I want to see you out there with the horn when she go to court. I want to see you out there, Larry, in your red bow tie. I want to see you out, Louise, making all kind of prayers because the woman is charged criminal. And in federal court in Newark, New Jersey, they convicted Sharp James. They convicted because he didn't say he had a girlfriend. They convicted Gibson. They convicted Ralph Rand. They convicted Minor. They convicted Gary Grant. They convict you in Newark federal court. This ain't no joke. And the girl is holding a bag. My 28-year-old little girl is holding a bag over some arrogant, over some political ploy that went bad. It went bad. So you can do all this publicity you want. I'm with her. And if she get convicted, you know who's going to be standing out there waiting on her? Her son. Her daughter and her husband. Because you know what people do? Life goes on, Pastor. Just like when you bury somebody. Oh! And then a week later, you go on life. My little 29-year-old kid got criminal charges against us. Walaikum assalam.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Wow. Let's see. Good evening, Ed. Carolyn, if you scroll back into the conversation, he was basically talking about how McIver got, quote, left with the bag, unquote, and all over a political stunt that backfired. And share your comments on that. Let me bring Zaire on. Hey Zaire, what's going on?
Yeah. What is up, Shakima? What is up, Shakima? What is going on in the city of Newark?
Sky is up, and a whole lot is going on in the city of Newark.
Hello.
Sheila Montague says he is absolutely right. Did you hear the commentary of Alif Muhammad? Zaire, we lost Zaire. He'll get back on, but I agree too. It's a case of what my grandmother used to tell me: be careful of your friends, because your friends could make you lose your job, or your friends could have you in some stuff that will land you in jail. So I completely could relate to the message that he was making. And like he said, the women were shielding the mayor. They weren't the men. No, there was one dude and he was looking for the Congresswoman while he was shielding the mayor. He wasn't even shielding her. Or 80-year-old, they said she's 80-year-old Watson Coleman, another Congresswoman who, don't take no offense, Granny. If you had my granny out, first of all, you would not have had my granny out there. You would have not had my granny out there being a human shield for you. And like Mr. Muhammad stated, the mayor kept going down there. And like I said, when we had the show a couple of weeks ago, the day before, Zaire talked about how the mayor was going to get himself arrested if he keeps going there. And if you scroll back to Mr. Muhammad's speech, he talks about, the mayor did file complaints against the fact that he couldn't get into Delaney Hall, but he filed it in the wrong court. He didn't even wait for the court process to carry out. He just went down there and dragged the Congresswoman with him. But go ahead, Zahir. I'm sorry.
Hey, Shakima. So first things first. Hello, good evening, everybody. Second thing second. I just want to say the LaMonica McIver is definitely in my prayers. I definitely hope
mine too.
Finds common ground with the prosecutors in the case. She's not ready. I don't think she was ready for a congresswoman seat.
I don't think so either, but I don't think she should have been manipulated to be put in this position. I feel like it's so messed up.
I understand that, but let me finish though real quick.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So here's my thing. She's fighting the U.S. government, right? And we know United States government, and not gonna lie, somebody or the office that a lot of us in law enforcement admire, which is the US Attorney's Office, right? And they have a 99.96% conviction rate. I'm gonna say it again, a 99.96 conviction rate. What's truly amazing and very
Can I add a 89.5% guilty plea rate?
well, it's a 99.96.
No, I'm talking about a guilty plea, not the conviction,
Well, that's the
where
same.
people
That's
plead
all
out.
the thing. That's all the same.
Okay, okay, go ahead, go ahead. My apology.
Everything from guilty pleas to court wins to even sometimes dropping charges and adding different ones, right?
Right,
So,
right, right.
and
We can see
there's a
some new charges, right?
exactly. So here's my thing. Once again, Miss McIver, once again in my prayers, but I think that she should have touched the olive branch. As I said before to you, that as an African American woman, as a woman of Congress, an educated Black woman, and a woman who really molds herself off the dignity of others, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that it should have been held much more differently. Once again, it's different when it's on a national stage. Her pushing and shoving it, and it's going to be really hard for her to beat these charges.
Right, right, right. Because
There's,
she did throw the blows.
yes, there's video footage that she threw the blows. There's witness statements, and there's statements from the federal agents themselves.
Right.
Very hard if it goes to court. Yet it may be political. However, you know, it's much different that she actually threw blows. Like she actually was throwing hands, as they say. So this would be a difficult case. And the reason why it'd be difficult and a little bit unorthodox for the office, specifically for the U.S. Attorney's Office, is the fact that it does not involve corruption. They're usually politicians and corruption charges. So it is a rare case to take up assault, or impeding or anything like that of a federal law enforcement officer. Do you have the pop up and stuff? And so let me see here. If you zoom in, so you can scroll down
To the next page.
Yes, scroll
with
down
the counts. Okay.
Yes, to the counts. Did you scroll down?
Well, we're on count 1.
Oh, there it is. So count 1. So these are both the same account. So it says count 1, assaulting, resisting, and impeding certain officers or employees. Now,
and make note, it has the title in there. People can copy and paste and look it up and see what it means. These are real charges. This is just not somebody verbally saying, oh, she was charged and we don't have anything in black and white. This is serious. And this is why third graders need to know how to read. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay, great. Thank you. So as we see count 1, it says on May 9th, 2025, Essex County District, New Jersey, and elsewhere, the defendant, LaMonica McIver, did forcibly assault, resist, impose, impede, intimidate, and interfere with the persons designated in Title 18 United States Code section 1114, namely a Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent V1, so pretty much victim 1, as described in the complaint, while victim 1 was engaged in the account of the performance of his or her official duties involving physical contact with victim 1 in violation of Title 18 U.S. United States Code section 111A paragraph, I think 1. So what does that mean? That means that pretty much those blows are her not moving out the way, pushing and shoving agents and things like that. She did it actually have, and so it says several different things if you read it, right? If you read the first line, it says assault, resist, oppose, intimidate,
and interfere.
Intimidate and interfere, right? So it doesn't really necessarily give full detail unless it says she said did for one of those things, though, right? So we have to see, all right, which part is the prosecution going to go with now. And this is just only off this page. Now we're going to scroll down and go into further detail, but nothing really says anything. It's just the title, right? These are the things, and like I said, this is the statute. Now, if you can scroll down for me for page 3.
You want count 2 or we're
right,
on count 2?
No, go down one more so we can see and then it says right here, The first part is this is pretty much an affidavit, right? A legal document that a special agent writes, pretty much a warrant charging the person with the aforementioned offenses. And then as you go down to the point, right, these are the this is a transcribed timeline of everything that would happen, right? So scrolling down, and then now you have the body cam footage. And then if you read, because I'm going to highlight, I'm not going to go through every last one of them. It says McIver slammed her forearm into the body of victim 1, a uniformed HSI agent. She also reached out and tried to restrain victim 1 by forcibly grabbing him. All right, and we can do point 15. Following the arrest, McIver also pushed an ICE officer, victim 2. So V2, V1. So it's really victim.
Right.
And use each of her forearms to forcefully strike victim 2 as she returned inside the secure area of the facility. Some representatives still of McIver's forceful contact with agents and officers are included below, right? So as you can scroll down, right? You can scroll down. Here's the body cam footage, right, of McIver using her forearm area, her right forearm, and forcefully shoving with her forearm a uniformed HSI agent in full uniform. He's in full green tactical gear. He has markers all throughout that identifies him as a law enforcement officer. Clearly he has full-fledged tactical gear. So I don't think she can't use the defense. Well, I didn't know he was a cop. Well, they're all wearing, full-fledged gear, right? And as you can see in all the videos, and then you see the one at the bottom, that was victim 2. So now we go down to the 4 photos at the bottom, victim 1. And now you can see her making physical contact with a HSI agent, I believe. I think I think he's ICE or HSI, one of those.
HSI. I believe that was HSI. That was the one that had the cuffs he was trying to put on.
So they're all under the Department of Homeland Security. And the statute is consistent with everyone. It's not specifically to certain agents. It's to any law enforcement officer that is endowed with the powers to perform their duties on a federal level, and or anybody else that is a federal employee that they choose to do, right? So if you scroll down one more, as you can see, LaMonica using physical form, trying to stop the arrest or to impede, as alleged by the affidavit. You can scroll down one more, as we see multiple angles. As you can see, her allegedly pushing and shoving individuals, or the victims. You can scroll down one more.
That's it. That's the last one.
All right. So, can she beat these charges? Highly, highly unusual, and there's a probability that she can't. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. As Congress, she is lawfully allowed a legislative function. Within her legislative function, she's allowed to go to certain areas to affect those areas consistent with her legislative functions, which it is endowed by Congress by their legislative functions. So here's the tricky part for me and what I would use as an attorney, right? And this is me, right? If I'm in the course of my duties, all right, let's read that. It says, did any Mr. Stevens say, did anyone talk to her to ask her if she feels manipulated, or are we just going off emotion? Okay.
Look, I'm not going off emotion. I know she works for the Democratic Party, and this is the problem when you have someone or a group who brings you in to a position, and you're not in the position because you went and you learned about it and you have a passion for doing it. Maybe they piqued your interest or said something to you to make you feel like, oh, all right, yeah, I feel like I could do that. So that's where I think it's more manipulation than me just going off of emotion. Zaire, you can speak to what
I'm not gonna.
what you think, but like how you break down the law, you actually go research it, you talk to law enforcement personnel, you talk to the federal agents, you know, you have an idea, a real idea of how law enforcement operates, and you're in it. You're not just there for a paycheck. You're not just there because you thought it was a good idea and you wanted to help people. You know, you're there because you have an innate passion. You know, it's not just based off of, all right, yeah, I think I could do this, or, you know, Congresswoman in front of my name or councilwoman in front of my name has a good ring to it. It has to be more to it than that. And in her case, I don't think it was that, because if you don't even have a voting record or voting history and you just get into voting and all of a sudden you're running for city council and you're the council president, like, I mean, that I'm not saying it's a red flag, but it's something to make a person curious as to where does your passion lie.
Okay, let me just go back into the
But go ahead.
into the charge itself. Like I said, very rare for the prosecution. Okay, well, the law, technically she did physically assault a federal agent in the course of their duties.
Exactly.
Now,
and we cannot escape that, whether we want that to be the reality or not. Some of us don't want to deal with the truth. Some of us don't like the truth, but that's the reality of it. And that has to be addressed.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Because she could have put her hands up if I was her, or if I was her advisor, put your hands up, back up out of that crowd.
Real quick. As a and here's my thing though. Here's what's gonna make people think, right? And this is what I would do, like I said, as her attorney, right? Yes, she went to technically a secured facility, right? And in the secured area, she forcibly placed herself in that secure area after impeding the arrest of the mayor. Now, let's just say she's within her legislative right to be at that location because she's inspecting to either allocate budget, to advocate for certain budgets, or to say, hey, you know, as a member of Congress and a representative, we made you do this and that, right? Now, if that is the case, and technically she's on her business, and if it was in her official, schedule, that's technically really not assault to me, right? It's more like workplace violence because these are two federal employees, correct? They're both employees,
right?
So it's really, to me, it's more as if the mayor is different. The mayor is separate from the federal government, so he really doesn't have a defense. But for her, it seems as if, yes, she was doing something, and subsequently things got physical, but it's more of an HR issue than it is a criminal justice issue. That's just me personally. I don't know the precedent, so I'm not going to speak that as if I'm speaking factual, right? I'm speaking as if, I'm speaking as if for me personally, that it may be more of a, she impeded the arrest, right, than anything else. But it's
now, but what about putting your body parts?
Yeah, see, and that's impeding though. I don't think that, like I said though, she may have said, hey, and like I said, there's something called duty to intercede, right? Congress to intercede in certain things, to say, hey, we can't allow this. Hey, we can't do this. Hey, this is not right. And she may be under the impression that she pretty much could have told the federal agents, hey, this is not right. You can't do this as prescribed in the Constitution, or she could have said several other different things. Now, I don't think that's going to be an actual reality for her, an actual defense for her. But the defense I would bring is workplace violence, number one, right? She should be sanctioned for workplace violence. But he also did impede by specifically walking onto the property. Yeah, it says it may be a private place, but it's publicly funded. And once those funds hit that private location, technically Congress yields the power to inspect those funds. They have to make sure that everything goes into those areas, though, specifically if it's being used for an official proceedings, aka the Homeland Security and enforcement, right? So Congress legislate, the Homeland Security enforces. That's usually the powers and branches of the executive branch. They execute the laws, right? And Congress legislates, and then the judicial interprets the law. So that's pretty much how it goes. And if everybody understands it, it's actually really easy to understand. We taught that in pretty much high school. I just think that, yes, things got physical, right? Yes.
Right. Now, what if the ICE agent says his back hurts now because of...
Well, once again, it's still workplace violence. He can file for workman's compensation. And if he wants to pursue criminal charges on his own right, yeah, hey. But do I think that it was appropriate for the US attorney to file charges against her? Yes. Right? But does it also bring up the complex issue of the fact that they were both employees at the time or during this assault subsequently took place? And was she protesting the fact that he was being arrested, or was she saying, hey, this is the wrong thing? Right? So that's what I think. Do you think Republicans will try to kick her out of Congress? Do I believe it? Possibly. Right? We live in a very political times now. I think that her actions with reckless disregard, were they purposeful intentionally? Absolutely. Right?
I would have.
I don't think she went there with the intent that and thereof, but I think that it subsequently became the intent once she started pushing and shoving her back in. So and that's something that is going to be very hard for her, like I said, to prove. If a bunch of Republicans went down there to Delaney Hall, would they lock them up?
I don't think the Republicans would have made the ICE situation a priority for them.
Yeah, and they're more, and let's just say, yeah, you have a lot of Republicans that are crazy. I've never myself seen anybody act the way that she did, though. She thought she was on, broad and market. That's just me personally.
I disagree with the moment too,
because because if you are the House of Representatives, you are representing the people, right? And that is not something that I would want to be represented by. Now, I'm not saying she is a bad person. I think she's a good politician for the city of Newark? Yes. Right? But do I think that she had a bad intention in going there? No. But do I think that she needs to grow up a little bit much more?
I agree with that. I agree.
There's nothing wrong with
you can't take your earrings off and put Vaseline on your face and go get smoked.
Poise and
with the ICE.
You have to have a level of the poise and diplomacy when you go about being a political officer. And in the execution of your duties, you have to understand that everything ain't a fight. You can fight the good fight, but it's how well you fight the good fight. You can't get into an actual fight in the name of getting into the good fight. Right? Why is a verbal statement?
I don't think it was a good fight.
They wanted ruckus. It was in, what is that word? I can't see it on my thing. Hold on.
Why is it a verbal statement rather than a written statement? They wanted a ruckus, like you alluded at one point. She wanted smoke. It was an avant-garde approach to get media attention, and it backfired. That's the same thing that Mr. Muhammad said.
Could you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, my headphone died. My bad.
Okay.
And then the screen cut. All right. So, but yeah, what was I?
Sheila says
she was not supposed to be there. She was there on request of the mayor, and his motives were selfish. So she was there on the request of the mayor. right? Tricky situation. You know, she should have. And here's my thing. Here's me personally, as a prosecutor, or if I was thinking as a federal prosecutor, the fact that the New Jersey State U.S. Attorney, extended an olive branch for the Congresswoman to come in.
Oh, let's talk about that.
It clearly shows her lack of determination of her diplomacy, right? Because as a politician, you have to be a diplomat,
right? You have to sit down with people you don't like, people who politics you don't agree with. I would have sat down with US Attorney Habba to squash this, you know, and I would have made a public apology for my behavior and for my foul language. And, you know, whether it was in the heat of the moment, I would have made that clear to move forward. But because I just don't think this looked good. It made on the flip side of, you know, not wanting this to feeling bad that she's in this position, but at the same time holding her accountable. It made her look like an angry Black woman.
Yeah, she fit the stereotype. And so we have
that bothered me because you're supposed to be representing us.
Exactly, but here's the hypocrisy though, Shakima. Here's the hypocrisy. She usually sick the dog on the fucking excuse me. She usually sick the cops on the speakers when the speakers got out of line, so to speak. So my thing is, you should know what decorum is and how to perform under adverse adversarial environment. So my thing is, yes, there's this way of being a politician, and my thing is, I don't think she fit that. Yes, she may have been there at the request of the mayor, but at the end of the day, in her legislative seat, and as a member of the House of Representatives on a federal salary, how much they even get paid? $150-something thousand.
Wow.
They get paid almost $100,000. Almost what, 5-7 times, if you think about it, the household income of her district residents, and she can't behave or try to act like a congressperson. And I'm not coming for her political stances or
no, we're not. No. You're not coming for her personally. We're not bashing her or coming for her personally. Her politics are off. Her politics are off.
I think she's a good congresswoman. That's my personal opinion. I'm speaking as a Republican. I think she is a good congresswoman.
Why?
Think she knows how to fight. I think she fights very good at times when she's right and she's doing right by the people. However, I don't think this fight that she subsequently so-called had was a good fight. Just because people fight the good fight don't mean every good fight is a good fight. You get what I'm saying? My thing is, you go to Delaney Hall, but let's talk about the conditions of the federal fund that was happening to Essex County Jail, literally on the opposite side of them.
Right.
Talk about the conditions there. Let's talk about how, well, if we had immigrants there, what were their conditions? What was on there? Right? So we can't pick and choose the fight. And once again, just because it's a good fight don't mean it's a good fight for you. So if the mayor was so keen or so hell-bent on going there, all he had to do was say, hey, could I sat down with Attorney General or posed a letter to either the president or the Secretary of Homeland Security? Now, hear me out with this, though. The president lands quite oftenly just to go to Bedminster, New Jersey. You get what I'm saying? So my thing is, he could have been waiting on a tarmac and asked somebody from the Secret Service, or him and his security detail could have said, oh, she gets paid $174,000, even fucking worse, excuse my French. But, and this is, you know, I'm a little passionate though. She should have been, he should have been at the tarmac waiting for the president to land. The president landed majority of the time in 2017, 2021. He landed in the fucking airport, either Monmouth or Atlantic City, to take Marine One. What's stopping him from having a 5 to 10 second conversation, walking the president from Air Force One to his motorcade or his car to say, hey, Mr. President, I would like to have access to this facility to make sure these people are being treated fairly. That's what I believe.
Okay.
So for him to use the Congresswoman and her legislative body, and then her to say, while she's pushing and shoving agents, to me, which is absolutely outrageous, to say, I'm a Congresswoman, I'm a federal official, that means that you're acting belligerent in the course of your duties as a federal official, and that the fact that you're going to benefit from the fact that you are a federal official, right, to further your attempts to impede justice or a lawful arrest, whether a lawful or unlawful, she had no duty to intercede.
You got to let the arrest go down.
She had a duty
you
to
have
protest,
to let it go down.
We could talk about workplace violence or violence in the workplace. However, though, do I believe that she overstepped her boundary as Congress? Absolutely. She had no right. And there's nothing in the federal constitution that states that she has a right to by force, take or to do anything without the legislative body to have other people to execute that, aka the executive branch.
Where did Zaire fell off on us, but I mean, this is a mess. This is a mess. This is a mess for her. This is a mess for Black women. It's a mess for the 10th Congressional District. It's a mess for the city of Newark. An absolute mess, drama, chaos. Let me bring Zaire back on. You're back on. Someone said, perfect example of conduct unbecoming. This administration has never been held accountable for any of their poor actions or decisions. And unfortunately, like it's going to be hard an extreme level of accountability.
Hear me, Shakima?
Hard on, I'm sorry.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, good.
Yes.
No, my bad.
I don't think it's, well, when I read in the Star Ledger, and you can correct this, Zaire, she's facing 16 years. I think 16 years is a bit much. I think there should be some accountability. Like you said earlier in our conversations, it's too late for her to sit down and meet with Habba, because when the olive branch was extended, she smacked it. And I think that's attributed to her immaturity and not being ready to be diplomatic.
She thinks she one of these like that. This not a baddies audition.
It's not a baddies audition. This is federal government.
My thing
is serious.
You have what? She has what? 2 master's degrees or 1?
I have no idea.
What is her
education? You know what? Let's also be clear that I've invited people onto the live who support her to speak on her behalf, because they may have something from their point of view or perspective that I can't see, or I'm trying to be as neutral as I could, and also humane as well. And I think you're doing that too, because like I said, our goal was not to bash her, but to look at the behavior and analyze the behavior and start to really do some self-inventory, some community reflection on what we want our representatives and leadership to look like going forward.
Yeah, can I say something? Do you know who the people I look up to?
No, who are they?
All right. but I'm talking about, like, from a political law perspective. The fact that is she purported wife beating syndrome, the husband wife beat on the kids, aka federal agents, is not a person of stature and is not articulate or politically savvy or sway? Savvy to handle a congressional seat. She's not. But what I will say, here are the people that I admire. Number one, my favorite person who I admire is Loretta Lynch. right? What? She's a
Okay.
Democrat. She was the first African American female Attorney General of the Obama administration. Eric Holder, right? First African American Attorney General. Peter Harvey, first African American New Jersey State Attorney General.
Right.
Condoleezza Rice, first African
Right.
National Security, well, I think first African American National Security Advisor and first Secretary of State, General Colin Powell.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Right. And they
And,
would have never behaved this way.
and my thing is, I have never seen, and Kamala Harris too, and I'm talking about her prosecutorial record, not her as vice president. Right. Let's just say it like that. I'm gonna just be like that. Right. So here's my thing. There's no way that I've ever seen anybody behave the way she did and how she did that was so-called an elected official.
Right.
Not even Eric Mays got into a physical altercation.
I agree. He talked a lot of trash.
See, Eric Mays, may God rest his soul, the former elected official in Flint, Michigan, he has never been in an altercation like that. Cursing.
Oh yes. Well, she did curse. She said she told the ICE agents to get their effing hands off of her. She Officer Perez, who was the black ICE lady agent, she told her, get your effing officers. Who the F does he think he is? And then she did the open hand. I want to make sure people can see the what like that gesture.
So she's trying to intimidate them. That's intimidation.
So and I saw at that point the ICE lady agent was trying to calm her down, and she was trying to de-escalate. To her credit, she was not pouncing on her, trying to put cuffs on her. She was trying to get her, all right, cool out, chill out, all right, understand your mood is elevated, but we're not here to hurt you.
My thing is, once again, she exit, and here's what I think that she is going to be hard, because they're going to use the city council meetings and say, hey, you have quorum here, but you didn't have the quorum here. Right. And I think that it was sad. And I don't think she represents the people.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that the mayor,
it is a 99.96 conviction rate with the United States Attorney's Office. It is going to be very hard, because technically she was inciting a riot. Right, it was just but Eric hold on, put that back up there again.
Oh, I just posted them. I didn't know you were reading it. I'm sorry.
It says but Eric Holder sat with Raz on this matter, so I don't respect Eric at this point. Well, Eric, yes, Eric, I kind of agree, but Eric's a former US attorney. Would he have prosecuted? Absolutely. They actually sent more people back to their countries of origin under that administration, which he was a part of. So they're more Republican than they are. They're just doing it for the political agenda for the Democratic Party. So Eric Holder now is speaking for the party, not from the office of the United States Attorney's Office. Because if he was speaking for the U.S. Attorney's Office, there would be certain things that he probably would have had to do. Because if he would have dropped those charges, he probably would have dropped charges for like 50,000 other cases that they pretty much would have had it. Because everybody would like, well, trespassing, wait a minute, he trespassed into a federal facility. And my client this and my client that. So I think that was a little unfair. Yes, but it is what it is. I agree with the olive branch though.
I would have taken the olive branch. Listen to me. If I was one of her advisors, I would have said, look, LaMonica McIver, you got to sit down with her. We got to get this behind us. We need to do a public statement, apologize for the behavior. First of all, acknowledge that it was inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to go out in front of the public, because the protesters, I'm sorry?
It's a lack of accountability in this situation.
Right.
If I would have did that, let me speak to you in a real way, right? if I would have did that to one of those officers inside that fucking city hall, I would have got locked up. And I'm speaking with the understandings of I so have happened to work for that agency, right? And I so have happened to be involved in situations like that, whereas though arrests have occurred for ag assault.
Right. Listen,
So
fully...
hold on, let me finish real quick. There are several incidences that the mayor even knows where officers are physically attacked by a group of individuals protesting. They lock down certain streets for weeks on end. I got the pay stubs to prove it, and I got the videos and evidence to prove, which I won't do, right? Due to the sensitivity, and certain things can't be known to the public. But we were told to block off a street and to let certain individuals in that lived on the street because of a physical assault that took place on several officers on a certain street he lives right around the corner from. And there was another street that he lived down up the street that was all up the street from, not too far off Leslie, but literally the other side of Leslie. So my thing is, he should know better as a mayor to understand that if the federal government was to come here and block off the entire Broad and Market and the entire certain streets to say, hey, since one of our guys was assaulted by multiple, and mind you, this wasn't, there were multiple people pushing and shoving those federal agents. However, she incited it because of the level of her position.
Right. She's the leader.
She was the leader.
You're the congresswoman. You have the highest position of everyone out there, including the mayor.
Yep.
And it goes back to what I was saying. Be careful of the friends you keep, because they'll mess around and make you lose your job or have you in jail.
I tell people.
My grandmother told me. She was right.
Here's another thing, though, Shakima. Understand the power of your influence. I tell people this all the time.
Exactly.
But also, once again, I got to reiterate, the mayor knows how he responded when several officers were physically assaulted around the corner from his house, and we had to block off those streets.
Right.
Almost a week to grandstand that we ain't going to let that shit happen. So should that happen now on in front of Delaney Hall? I think that it was unacceptable. And I think that no one condemning specifically this him, not condemning that. How about I go punch and shove the officers inside City Hall, hypothetically speaking? That's not appropriate.
Right.
If somebody does that to them, they're going to be arrested.
Exactly. And
there's a certain level of decorum that I believe that, once again, when you put yourself on a national stage, you have to have a level of decorum. I don't think she was ready because she was still on Newark time. Like she was what's popping, what's good, like word is bond.
What?
Fucking Congress. You represent exactly,
son. But also the next day, let's talk about, Will said they had protesters there. They did lock them up the next day. MPD locked the protesters up. After this happened, the following day, the protesters came back out. They sent MPD out to lock them up. That wasn't fully covered on the news, but I understand why, because now people will question, well, how come y'all are locking up the protesters now? You didn't lock the protesters up on May 9th.
Exactly.
So prior to May 9th, when the mayor kept going down there.
Let's talk about it.
So, and somebody made an interesting comment. Leonard Ellis said they are playing on the fears of the people. Wrong is wrong, and she was out of control. Power leads people in front of public bullets, and she shot herself.
I don't want to say she. I mean, yes, she did, and she didn't. Here's my.
That's his comment. That's his comment. If that's how he wants to express himself,
we don't want violence. Here's my thing.
No, we don't want violence, but that's what he said.
No.
I think he's speaking figuratively.
No. What I'm not even talking about that anymore. I'm talking about something totally different. So what I'm saying is that I believe the congresswoman is a good congresswoman. I do. This is me, right?
Somebody said why.
Why do I believe she's a good congresswoman?
Yes.
Because she's young. She has a new perspective, right? Because New York is becoming greater, it's larger. She's young. She has that wittiness with her. And I think that we do need a younger crowd to represent us. I think I do. But I think that it is so her conduct was unprofessional. Now, if she was an employee of mine, I probably would have gave her a 10-day suspension.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
final notice.
I don't think she should do 16 years.
No,
That's
yeah,
just messed up.
I don't even think she should be all honesty. I really don't. I think the prosecution is a little overstretched. Me personally, once again, I'm speaking as a Republican. I think that is, and I'm not speaking as for the Republican Party. I'm speaking as just a regular Republican. That I don't think that she deserves that. However, I understand why she's being persecuted.
Okay.
She weaponized the Newark police. Yeah, I said that too. Yeah, she did weaponize the Newark police against on several occasions, calling on Newark police officers to move several speakers who that clearly was participating in their First Amendment constitutional rights. So she
So
should
do you
better
think?
how decorum is because she regulated decorum. You get what I'm saying? So she really
Okay, I see what you're saying.
she relegated decorum. So she can't say anything about decorum when you relegated decorum within the city council meetings. So it's going to be really hard
Oh.
for her to approve to say to a jury, well, I was passionate. Well, the speakers at the city council people were compassionate, and guess what? Her kicking them out and things like that. They're going to counter that with case law and just law in general to state that you were even doing that illegally. So my thing, please just accept the olive branch, McIver. If you ever listen to it, I think you're a wonderful person. For me personally, I've never had issues with her. Is she snappy and fiery? Yes. But let's transfer that energy into passing bills. Let's transfer that energy into possibly this new next election that's coming up. Let's transfer that energy to doing the great work that you want to do. Right. I think that she does have the tenacity to change, and like I said, she's young, she's something fireable, necessarily mean character. I know it doesn't, but she has the perspective and she has the approachability to speak with her younger crowd, right? Because ultimately it's about us, and then you pass the torch on and it's about them, right? We represent everybody, but it's really for the younger generation to keep the United States moving forward.
Okay. And what about this comment?
You're confusing me. If she has no decorum and is uncultured, wait, go back.
I'm sorry.
Uncultured. What does she offer than youth? I'll wait. She, like I said, she offers a different perspective at times. She is a hardcore Democrat for a Democratic state. Why, as I said, Zaire, why are you trying to mold her into something everyone has sitting
Potential.
Potential. Okay. She's not polished. I understand that. She's not a bad, because I can't speak to someone's character, right? Do I think that she needs to go to jail over it? No. I don't think she should be a congresswoman right now, but I do think that she should take a step back into another legislative role, aka a county representative or a state assemblywoman or state senator. I think that could have been good for her to expose her to that lifestyle. And then she could have thought about it. She jumped in from a city council position straight in off the streets, end quote. And then, up there, she's a public mess. She had, okay, well, that's true. That's true. Because
This is how she got all into this mess. I have to agree with Sheila Montague.
And I will say
her loyalty, when somebody pulls you in, you have this. I don't think it's abnormal to feel like you owe them to an extent, or you always got their back because they put you in a position.
Well, how about Sheila Montague? How about you run? And
I think Sheila ran multiple times.
Yeah, but hear me out real quick though. Do I think that she's a good congresswoman? Yes and no. I think that her conduct right then and there, her decorum was completely unacceptable. Well, let me read this comment real quick from Ms. Martinez. At the end of the day, people need to do their research on every candidate before voting for them. Some people are not ready for office as evolution to another office. Here's my thing.
I agree with Felicia.
But we have to not just do our research, but we have to inform our elders, because usually they target elders. They target our vulnerable elders. They target our people. And we got to get the heck out of this Democrat. Oh, I'm going to vote Democrat. Rather than and seeing this person with the mayor and trying to be like, oh, well, the mayor's supporting him, so I got to support him.
Right. That's the blind loyalty. Let's look at the individual. Let's look like she said, let's do our research on the candidate. Let's look at their background. Let's do some testimonials and talk to some people they've worked with, interacted with. Let's talk to their coworkers. Let's be well-rounded about it. Let's not talk to people that like them. Let's talk to people that don't like them and see why they don't like them, and see if it's something related to their morality and standards and work ethic, or is it just this person truly is a hater and don't understand what the candidate brings to the table. Because yeah, we do have that, and I think that's why it's important too to have this discussion as well, because it's not about us attacking the personality of Congresswoman McIver. It's the behavior and the expectation that goes with being a congresswoman.
Exactly. And we don't see Maxine Waters get up and tell the federal police, get your motherfucking hands off me, get your people, trying to reclaim her time back. She sat there and she requested her time to be reclaimed.
Right. Very clumsy. Very clumsy.
That doesn't make her, and I want to project, say I'm trying to mold somebody. No, I'm really trying to say that doesn't make her a bad person. It made her, it made it a bad moment.
Right. She's that. I
wanted to project that. I wasn't trying to mold her.
I agree.
No, what I'm saying is that we all have bad moments, and a moment can determine whether something is or isn't for us. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that being a congresswoman is for her. Simple. And I don't think even with the last congressman, he wouldn't have played that shit with Raz. So he would have told Raz to go see his little, sit his little stuff down.
Right. Nobody's doing no publicity stunt over with ICE. Go to the slumlords. It would have been a great. It would have been
I will say, may God rest his soul and God rest his dad's soul. But it wasn't gonna play with.
It would have been great if he did that against the slumlords. It would have been great if he did that with the water. If he allied with us on that water issue, that would have definitely put him in a running for governor.
Yeah, it would have been great if he would have did that, signing that police contract. It would have been great if he would have signed that firefighter contract.
Right.
Had that same energy at Delaney Hall, continue with your city legislation and all the legislations as well, though. The real reason why he went down there, and I gotta blame the mayor for this, though, right? Because he allowed it, because he's the mayor. He had seniority over her. Whether we agree or disagree, he had seniority, and rather him just sitting there was like, okay, listen, I just want to come in. I want to observe, I want to leave, or even had to talk to the federal agents like, hey, I'm running for office, and understandable, like, oh, okay, it's political, whatever. And they probably would have tried, and he could have stood outside and came out and grandstand from there and said, hey, X, Y, and Z, this is what I did, this is what it came to, blase. That would have been it. But no, the mayor wanted to grandstand, but he grandstand the wrong way. And I just think that
and he hurt somebody's political career.
He should know better.
And what gets me, how do you continue? Explain that to me. Maybe I'm seeing something that explain that to me. How do you continue after somebody's hurt? Their career is hurt. Their reputation is hurt because of you, and you continue to shoot your shot for what you want. That's not a benefit for the greater good to me.
That's not.
That's a little bit egotistical.
She was too young. She's a freshman. And my thing is, she should have known better. And this is the problem, whereas though there's not a lot of guidance that she has as a woman, right? Because the women that she did, well, that she could have had guidance from, she unseated. Let's talk about it. Let's talk. There was no poise. There was no, hey, let's talk about this. There was no, oh my gosh, you going up, you trading blows with federal agents. Me, if I work in the White House or if I'm somebody, I'm gonna know you as a congresswoman, regardless of whether what party I'm in, that like to throw fists. That set precedence to everybody else that you violent.
Yeah, it gave the angry black woman stereotype, and that bothered me because I'm like, wow.
And the reality is, though, Shakima, 9 times out of 10 she can go to jail. If anything, well, not she's gonna go to jail. 9 times out of 10, excuse me, she's gonna be convicted of the offenses if it does go to trial. She's gonna be convicted. Can we get somebody up here? It says right here, wait, go back again, Shakima.
Oh, with the residents?
Yeah, so Felicia Martinez stated that, like the residents are at the city council meeting said last night, where is that same energy for the residents who are suffering in the city landlord tenant court? Not even just that, the criminal court too, the civil court. What about people who being bamboozled and things like that? And you talk about it's political walking with your coffee. And my thing is, like, I don't think she's meant for Congress. I don't think she's meant for Congress. She's not a bad person, but she's not meant for Congress.
Yeah, I don't think she was ready.
I don't think she was meant for Congress.
I think she should have stayed city council, did some more work, did some legislation.
Let's talk about Sheila and Montague posted something at 7:05. Could you pull that up for me, Shakima, please?
7:05. What this shows? The biggest discussion right here.
Yeah, so the biggest discussion is that she shouldn't been in that seat. It wasn't earned. It was obtained by political theft. Yeah, the Oprah request showed that the petitions weren't what they needed to be. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. P says there are 3 generations of black women folks on that stage that went through trust men they went through. What can be done for black worn folk and mental health education? That is what needed to be talked about. When will we get to that part? I'm not quite sure what the communication is, but let's see. I know 90 P said something too. She said you have council folks standing in front of a weed store
talk about
and putting folks with food on the street. Once we have to stop planting seed, less food, you think folks are falling out now? Give it another year. Okay. All right. Okay, and William Hathaway says, if they claim that LaMonica hit officers, why didn't they lock her up at Delaney Hall?
So here's the thing. The prosecutor was and here's what I call prosecutorial discretion. Me and Shakima actually talked about it, how powerful the prosecutors are.
Right.
And prosecutors and like I said, officer discretion, they can leave it up ultimately to the prosecutor. So they don't gotta lock you up right then and there. It also talks about the statute of limitations. Under New Jersey, it's 5 years for a misdemeanor, 7 years for a felony. And then it's a lifetime for, I think, rape or homicide or a manslaughter, anything like that. There's usually like certain years that become statute of limitations. So they didn't have to lock her up right then and there. And a lot of people, like I said, things happen through investigations. A prosecutor may say, hey, you know, I don't want to prosecute this. We may not have enough evidence to prosecute, or the witnesses or the complainants in the case may have some bias or may not be truthful.
Okay.
And they can just say, hey, we choose not to prosecute at this time. Or they can just flat out just deny the charges in all of it of itself, though. That's what it comes. Like I said, the prosecutor has the sole power in the courtroom.
Okay.
So if she's wait, hold on. Don't play all of them just yet, because I want to read some of them and get and interact with some of the exposees or whatever. So just keep it right there. Yeah. So they can lock her up. Like I said, from that, I'm not sure. I think the statute of limitations for the federal level is 5 years, but like I said, it depends on the level and the degree of the crime. Usually for rape or for homicide, it's lifetime, maybe 7 years for some, 5 years for others. And that usually mirrors how states usually have their statute of limitations. For the mayor, charges could still be brought against him. And also for her, clearly charges were brought against her. And my thing is, if a prosecutor has enough to charge me and they say, hey, let's extend the olive branch, let's have a conversation and we can see if we could talk this out. My thing is, I'm calling my lawyer and we're going to talk that out.
Right. I agree.
So diplomacy, and that's something that I don't think that people are not really understanding or not seeing. She did not take diplomacy.
Right.
She did not take diplomacy. So I just think that was quite crazy.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Definitely agree with you on that one. All right, so I have to go right now, but This was a great conversation.
How about this? We can invite some of these people into our next show.
Okay, I agree with that.
Middleton.
Let's see.
I'm a former police officer. Wait, she won't do any time served and volunteer. Yeah, she won't do any time. So Miss Middleton, if you're available, we can probably invite you.
Yes, we definitely want Michelle to come on.
Miss Montague, you know you more than welcome, honey. All you gotta do is ask, and we'll just send you the link sometime. Miss Montague, you're more than welcome. Who else? And I think Steve, what is it? Steve Mattis, right? Oh, George Mattis, excuse me.
George, yes.
You guys are more than welcome to if we can be in discussions with you, we can possibly sing you, and we could talk about this much further next week. And go into depth and have a good time. I tell people, don't try to take our things so serious. It's like a podcast. We want you to put you on the headphones, put it on the table, and hear us pretty much run our mouths. Shakima has been doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And I have to give it up for Shakima. So don't shout me out, shout Shakima out when y'all do.
Shout you out too for the research that you do.
I know, but you have been like holding down the fort for the past several years, and I appreciate you. You have been consistent, you have been ready, you have been doing your damn thing, and I appreciate you. But I would really love for to extend, as you said too, to extend some of our conversation to some of the people who are our viewership, and we can have a conversation with them. This is the platform that we all created and that Shakima pretty much wants, is us not just talking to us, interacting. So whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, we want to get y'all up here to talk, and then y'all can be on y'all way and things like that. So I appreciate you, Shakima. So
I appreciate you too. And to Dakita,
yeah, what's she doing?
We did play Alif Muhammad in the beginning. We set the show off with his speech at City Council last night. We set it off with that because that resonated with a lot of people in the community. So I just want to let you know we're all on the same page with that, and we all felt that. We all felt what he said. even though the Congresswoman does have to take responsibility and be accountable for her actions.
Mm-hmm.
But there, why didn't the man protect her? That's something on the front of all of our minds. Why did a man let his girl take the charge? So that's I wanted to end with that, but we will get you on next time, like Zaire said.
Yeah, we're gonna get you on, LaMonica. We're gonna get several other people on. If Miss Middleton is available, we'll get them on, and we'll just have a good time and have a good conversation. That's pretty much what we started off,
Right.
and
And
that's what
we're open.
doing
We're
thus
open.
far. She is truly for the people. We actually, and it's crazy, several people have canceled on us, and we invited the people that wanted to defend LaMonica. So if y'all know anybody that wants to defend LaMonica, and it's not really defend, it's pretty much like you're a diehard supporter, like how we, Trump supporters are. I'm no fucking Trump supporter. I can't stand a motherfucker like that. However, and no, I will say, like, I do agree with some of the things that he does. I do agree. Some of the stuff that he says, just be like, come on, Mr. President, like we can't do that right now. But I support the administration. I support every secretary that he picked, and I definitely support the New Jersey Attorney General Habba, because she's actually keeping a lot of people safe. She actually made a federal case out of the 14-year-old killing a Newark police officer. I admire that. I appreciate that. She didn't have to do that, but she did it anyway. I support the Homeland Security, Secretary of Homeland Security, Naomi, for her continuous efforts in keeping this country safe, and her commitment of keeping this country safe. I really do. So, shout outs to them, shout outs to all the exposees, and hopefully we get to have some people on for next week. Shakima, thank you again for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. And I just want to say peace. We're out of here.
Thank you.
Current exposure.